What would the 2024 NFL draft look like for the Philadelphia Eagles if Howie Roseman continues to go against the grain? We'll get into that coming up next, right here on Locked On Eagles.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Eagles fans. I'm Louis DiBiase, co-host of the Locked On Eagles podcast. You can also find my work over at Bleacher Report. He's Gino Camilleri, our scouting director, my co-host, another Eagles analyst for Bleacher Report. On today's edition of the Locked On Eagles podcast, it's Mock Draft Monday. We continue to roll through 7-round Philadelphia Eagles mock drafts as we are just a month away from the 2024 NFL Draft. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers, you get $200 back in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 back if your bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. Yeah, Gino, can't believe it, but we are getting close to the NFL Draft. We've had a few weeks now of free agency. The Philadelphia Eagles were busy at work. Today was the owners' meetings down in Florida. Some good, interesting notes from Howie Roseman about what he's done in free agency and how the draft is going to be really where they build and continue to build their core. And that's definitely the case because they got draft picks and, you know, the Hassan Reddick trade, is, if it's going to happen, it still has not dropped yet. So they could get even more ammunition within these next 4 weeks.
The fact of the matter is we're a month out from the NFL Draft. I can't believe it, but from today, we are a month away. We will kick it off with our live draft show. We'll be live the entire first round, as we always do. But Howie Roseman makes a great point, and he always says it every single year. He'll make mention of it 1 or 2 times, that you can't change an entire franchise in a single offseason. It takes every single step of the puzzle, and the draft is another one. And this is, I would say, maybe his biggest draft in the 2020s, let's say. I mean, that first 2021 draft, they hit it out of the park. You land Jalen Hurts, you kind of lucked into your quarterback. Now it makes everything a little bit easier. But this time around, man, it's still a lot of guys like Fletcher Cox, gone. Jason Kelce, gone. James Bradbury's probably going to be gone. Slay will be gone sooner rather than later. This roster is turning over quickly, but you have to be proactive, Mr. Roseman, and he's done a great job so far. And the first step was free agency. Did a really good job. Talked about that. Some of the guys that he got. Talked about Bryce Huff. I can't wait to see him get off the ball and go get after the quarterback next year. And like you said, talked about the draft, that this is where they build their team. And the rookie contract is arguably the biggest asset in all of sport. So if you go into a draft and you hit at a 100% rate, let's say, you've now got 5 to 7 starters on a rookie contract. And if not, you're taking the reactive approach where you're overpaying guys in free agency, and that's where you see those middling teams. So it's a culminating effect, the draft, of the last step before you really get into OTAs and everything. But at the same time, it's the first feather in the cap for a lot of these guys who are more foundational pieces than they are truly day one, especially under Howie Roseman's drafting regime.
Yeah, and with Howie Roseman, you kind of know what to expect with most drafts. He's going to take linemen early. In the first 2 rounds, he's going to make at least one selection in the trenches. You know that he's going to trade up or down the board, whether it's in the first round, it's in the second round. He has barely ever stayed put. Since Gino and I have been doing Locked On Eagles, or his entire career as the GM, we know in 2020 he stayed put for Jalen Reagor. This past year, he stayed put for Nolan Smith, but he did move up for Jalen Carter. So there's some things we know how he will do when it comes time to get ready for the NFL Draft. But, Gino, he's also predictably unpredictable with the players he's interested in, where he goes up and down the board. And also, like, his philosophy changes every single year. So if this year he went with a position that he normally doesn't, would you be surprised? Because I really wouldn't.
The question you're asking is, if they walked away with the Detroit Lions draft of last year, how would you feel?
Yes,
how would you feel with the
running backs,
linebacker?
safeties, linebackers?
Yeah.
Exactly.
You get a running back off the board first, and then you draft the coach's son who's a linebacker, and then you get Sam Laporta, and all those picks. People are saying, "Oh, the Detroit Lions, they botched day one."
That's what
That's
I said.
why you don't grade everything after the first 12 hours of said draft. You wait for it to play out. And the Philadelphia Eagles, they have an opportunity, Lou, like you said, when everybody else is zigging, they can zag. Look at the Saquon Barkley. We weren't expecting that. $12 million to a running back over 3 years, $36 million in total. Was anybody expecting that? No. Would you expect the Eagles to go into this draft and say take linebacker, cornerback, safety? Absolutely not. Could it happen, though? Howie Roseman, he's the closest thing to the Joker from Batman, in my opinion. You've got to stay on your toes with this guy.
So, and that's what I want to do here with this first pick on day one at 22nd overall. So looking at the way the board fell, of course, you had those 4 quarterbacks go, which is important, right? Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, JJ McCarthy, in whatever order, as long as those guys go, that's huge for the Birds. So to push other players down. But, you look in, and I like the scenario that actually played out with this mock draft because it's going to allow me to do what I wanted to explore here with this scenario. So unfortunately for the Eagles, a corner run did go inside the top 15. Quinyon Mitchell went to the Raiders at 13. Terrion Arnold went to the Broncos at 14. Nate Wiggins did go right in front, 2 picks before, to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, in this scenario, you maybe try to trade up for one of those top 3. That's what I prefer is the ideal outcome for the Eagles in this draft. But I like that this scenario played out because I want to explore potentially moving down the board and taking a position that Howie normally does not take in round 1. And so looking at some of these offers, there was an offer from the Kansas City Chiefs that I like. They offered for pick 22, they offered the 32nd overall pick, they offered pick 64 on day 2, and then a 2025 third. And, we know that they already have 2 second-round picks this year. They might get another day 2 pick if they trade Hassan Reddick. I wanted to find a trade where I could potentially get another top 3 round pick in a future draft so you can continue that future flexibility that you've really had since you traded Carson Wentz. So this trade kind of gives you the best of both worlds.
So the reason we are doing this is because every year we like to approach every scenario. We're going to do the trade up draft.
Exactly.
This is the trade down.
We're not saying
approach.
that they should do this or this is realistic, but we explore every
It could be a Dallas Goedert approach, though, where you look at that draft and you're saying, oh, we're going to have the last pick of that day. All of a sudden, a team comes up and says, hey, we need a quarterback. We need X, Y, and Z player that we want to get on that 5th-year option. And in this situation, Lou, you're still making the pick in round 1. This is legitimately one of the better scenarios that you are going to get to where you don't even have to circumvent that 5th round option. You're still going to get it, as well as adding another top 64 pick that makes 4 picks in the top 64 and a third next year. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to be the 30th, 31st, or 32nd pick.
It will be.
Or no, in the order of the 3rd round, rather. But it's still very good compensation for what you are going to get moving down 10 spots. I love that trade, Lou. Great way to drum that up. It's not saying that the Eagles could do this, but it is one of the situations that we saw in 2018.
And again, you can't draft with all of these selections and keep all of these players, right? But you can have that flexibility of drafting a lot of young, inexpensive players and, down the road, because let's say you get a future 3 here in this trade, then you do get another pick for Hassan Reddick. Who's saying there's not a corner that becomes available on the open market, a veteran you can trade one of those picks for? So having draft ammunition gives you flexibility to be aggressive or, kind of kick the can down the road with those picks. So I like that idea of moving down 10 spots, collecting a few more picks here this year, next year. And I'm going to go with a position that, again, Howie Roseman never has drafted in the 1st round, but he signed a running back this year to a multi-year extension. So anything is possible. We've taken this guy before, but he's my linebacker 1. I'm going to go with Texas A&M linebacker Edgerrin Cooper. In Vic Fangio's defense, you need speed, you need violence, you need tackling ability at this position. I know they signed Devin White, but I think Edgerrin Cooper would be a great pick here. Listen to this. So he's the only linebacker in this draft with at least an 85-plus grade, according to PFF, in 3 categories: run defense, pass rush, and coverage. If there was, I'm not a guy that likes to invest a lot in linebacker, but if there was a prospect that you do this for, I kind of like Cooper. So I'm going to try to zig when the rest of the league zags with that pick.
And Edgerrin Cooper tested through the roof.
Crushed his pro day.
He also screams like Dallas Cowboys pick as well. So if you could take a player like that away from them, I think it's a very, very intelligent pick, right? And is the 1st round a little bit rich for a linebacker? Who's to say? But if you believe in that caliber of the player and they could fill a role for you instantaneously, I mean, if you're saying, yeah, let's do this and take Tyler Guyton and we could sit him for 2 years, we know that he is going to be a redshirt. No, with Edgerrin Cooper, he's going to come onto the field, potentially be the best linebacker that you have from a athletic profile standpoint, even going up against Devin White, who's a very, very good to elite athlete, you're talking about insane numbers that Edgerrin put up testing-wise. He's going to push the pace of Nakobe Dean a little bit more. And in my opinion, it's him, and then you got those tier 2 guys, which I think all kind of fall together. Peyton Wilson, Cedric Gray, blanking on the kid from Michigan.
Jeremiah Trotter.
Who's the one from Michigan? Why am I blanking on his name right now?
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank too.
Yeah,
we'll Cedric Gray, you said, right?
Yeah, Cedric Gray as well, and Jeremiah Trotter Jr. Yep.
Yeah, so I think, again, there's not a lot of other positions that have obvious starting roles in 2024, so... And again, Devin White is somebody I think the Eagles believe in. Same with Nakobe Dean, but neither player to me is a reason you don't make a move like this. And I think Edgerrin Cooper is what you want in a modern day every down linebacker. If there's going to be one linebacker that's on the field at all times, like this is that kind of player. And you collect a 64th overall pick. You get a third rounder next year. I think that's a win-win. Gino has the responsibility of pick 50 in round 2 coming up next right here. Mock Draft Monday on Locked On Eagles. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. Say goodbye to busted brackets because FanDuel lets you bet on every game of the tourney. Whether you're betting on a big upset or a 1 seed, it's time to go dancing on America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 back in bonus bets if your first $5 bet does win. That's $200 to use on point spreads, money lines. You can even pick who's going to win it all. The NFL draft's coming up too, so there's a lot to bet on this time of year in the world of sports. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to bet on college hoops until they cut down the nets later this month. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon. We thank FanDuel for sponsoring the Locked On Eagles podcast today. We thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day? Got to turn down the volume with all that shouting? Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's Mock Draft Monday. Today we've been exploring a different avenue for the Eagles. We've done trade-ups. We've taken a bunch of different positions. We've gone weapons early, trenches early, secondary. Today we decided to move down from 22 to pick 32, collecting a second round pick from the Chiefs and a future third. We took Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker from Texas A&M, with that pick. So trying to zig when the rest of the league zags, like how he tries to do, but Gino also do something predictable, which is move up or down the board. So it's a scenario that I wouldn't say is like super likely, but again, you never know with this football team.
I think the opportunity to move down 10 to 15 spots from 22 will absolutely present itself. I will say that. Yeah. I don't know if it'll be Kansas City. It could be a team towards the back end of that first round. Let's say Bo Nix or Michael Penix is still sitting there and they want to do the Lamar Jackson situation, which
Buffalo
you did with Dallas Goedert.
Receiving class. I mean, who knows?
That too. Like there could be multiple situations where you're sitting there and saying, hey, let's move back. We still have a good board. The board didn't fall the way we wanted to with those cornerbacks. And we still have 50, 53, 64. That's fantastic value that you're going to walk away with. 4 guys from pick 32 to 64, all within basically the same round of each other. Yeah, count me in.
All right, Gino, well, you got the 50th pick here. We've gone linebacker. What are you thinking here?
Should we stick with the trend and continue to go down that road? Let's go to the cornerback position.
Okay. Very slot heavy already.
Like
Max Melton, someone I love from Rutgers, but 5'11", he's a light corner.
With the 50th pick, I don't know about that. I don't love the safety class either, to be honest with you. And if I'm picking straws with this corner class, I'm definitely not taking one of the safeties. Let's say they want to go a position on offense. Let's say they want to go wide receiver, something that maybe the league isn't expecting out of them. Let's change it up a little bit.
Ooh, man, I like some of the options that are on the board here. So Jalen Polk's available, Xavier Leggett, Roman Wilson, Ricky Parcell. There's some good options. I mean, and at tight end, Gino, hold on. There is Jatavion Sanders still too. Do you want to try the Dallas Goedert move again? Like there's a lot of options.
Here, let's continue.
Do we want to try Dallas Goedert 2.0?
Yeah, we're going to go Dallas Goedert 2.0. We're going to go the Detroit Lions element. I
love
love JT Sanders, and I also love Ben Sinnott. I think both of those guys would be worthy of that pick right there.
Yeah.
Let's go JT Sanders. Jatavian Sanders
it.
out of Texas. Man, you talk about having the ability now to run 12 personnel. And that kind of feels like a luxury pick now where you have these two other picks where it's like we could take the best guy in JT Sanders on the board. We already got our biggest need already in linebacker.
Right.
Now the world is kind of our oyster and we can do whatever we want with. I think you got two top level players already for picking 32 and 50.
And Gino, now that you've added Saquon Barkley, the one thing this offense really does not have is a pass friendly 12 personnel package. And you lost Jack Stahl, who me and you already wanted to upgrade from at tight end too. He goes to the Giants. You get a guy like JT Sanders here. Didn't test well at the combine, but I love his tape. I think he looks more athletic at Texas than he did in Indianapolis. Is that guy? And Dallas Goedert, he's the same age that Zach Ertz was when they drafted Goedert. Goedert has a longer injury history than Zach Ertz does. He's more of a physical run after the catch player that might not age as well. So I really like that move you decided to go with. So we went linebacker and tight end with the first two picks. Very anti-Eagles, at least of the past. Got that 53rd overall selection here. Now I'm thinking, okay, let's get back to the nitty-gritty, the meat and potatoes. Let's think some trenches. I want to look at edge. I like Adisa Isaac from Penn State. That's interesting. Defensive tackle. Tavondre Sweat feels kind of redundant with Jordan Davis in-house,
Yeah.
Gino.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe tackle or guard. I mean, Cooper Beebe from Kansas State's interesting. Roger Rosengarten, too, at tackle. I think tackle would be a main focus here.
We had this conversation earlier today. If they were going to take an offensive lineman, it would have to be somebody that gives you swing tackle ability.
And
but could
eventually a
also
starting
play guard.
role. And also eventually, to me, Gino, a starting role if you're going to take him in the top 2 rounds. If you go with primarily a guard, then are you banking on Tyler Steen not working out? I don't know. Or is he the long-term right tackle replacement for Lane Johnson? To me, if you're picking a guy in the first 2 rounds, that can't be a long-term backup.
It can't be a Jack Driscoll. It can't be what you envisioned Big V to be. It has to be more like an Isaac Seumalo type of pick. Where, it's not a top-of-the-line guy, but he played multiple positions. He has that versatility. He has what Stoutland likes, i.e., Jordan Mailata, i.e. Cam Jurgens and Landon Dickerson and Tyler Steen, all of these guys. And I think Roger Rosengarten gives you the best ability to have a true tackle that you could put there.
Yes.
And those Washington offensive linemen, you're not getting the most athletic one, but Roger Rosengarten is right up there as a guy who can sit on the bench for you if he needs to play 2 or 3 games, which is a position that the Eagles have had to fill over the last couple of years. Lane Johnson, he's not playing every single game, every single season. We know that. So if you can have a guy that can come in and played in a national semifinal for Washington, played big-time minutes on one of the better offensive line groups in the country, for sure. Add him into the mix, Lou. You're now going to challenge Fred Johnson with that other tackle spot.
Yep.
You sign Matt Hennessy to have that guard center versatility. You're starting to see what that offensive line group is going to be moving into 2024.
I'm sure some people are panicking about the cornerback situation. The thing to me, though, Gino, there really wasn't anybody I loved on the board there that was a long-term potential boundary starter. And so this is a very good slot class, but once you get through the top, 6 or 7 corner prospects, it gets very slot heavy. So with that pick, I felt like it would be more tackle. But we still have 2 picks here on day 2 and in the 4th round with the 64th pick and then 120.
I don't know if we're going to go cornerback quite yet, like you had just said.
Yeah,
right?
Who do you like? It's all slot players, or DJ James, I guess, from Auburn might be the best. Your boy from Oregon, Kyrie Jackson.
Let's hold off on cornerback. I want to continue this trend of just going against the grain. And we kind of went back to what they would do with that offensive tackle pick. Yep. Let's say they draft another interior defensive lineman, Lou. Let's just say they don't love what they have beyond Jalen Carter. They're not in love with Jordan Davis. Maybe Milton Williams isn't going to resign. I'm just saying things that could potentially be on the board.
Sure.
And let's say a guy like Braden Fisk, who is
That's who
an
I was looking at, too.
unbelievable athlete and fits the profile of a true 3-tech that the Eagles love to have. Let's zig when everybody else zags, Lou. Let's go get this kid who's going to be a heck of a rotational player for you right away. You have a need there now with Fletcher Cox gone. Milton Williams, they haven't re-signed yet. Marlon Tuipulotu is your other guy in that rotation who's only really a 0/1 tech. With Vic Fangio, these guys are there's going to be less guys with their hand in the dirt, but they're going to have to be able to move. They're going to have to be able to get across the line of scrimmage and flow to defend the run. Braden Fisk is an all-world athlete, man, and he's just put together one of the better draft cycles that you see of going up a board. Like when you talk about a guy climbing a board, that's exactly what the situation is.
I really like that pick, and I think in this scenario, again, with corner, you would assume they would have eventually went out and traded for, maybe in this scenario, Gino, they went out and got a JC Horn, or they got,
Fair.
Greg Newsome from the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yeah,
or
let's say they did a player
really
swap with Hassan Reddick.
Exactly.
They moved Hassan Reddick for Greg Newsome.
So that's what I'm going to say. That's what I'm going to say happened here, corner, if the scenario played out, or they really believe in Keely Ringo or a James Bradberry bounce back. Me and you do not. But in that scenario, that's what I would say probably happened. Not saying we're not going to take a corner coming up, but I would imagine
I think they love what they have at corner more than we do personally. Like I think they like Keely Ringo a lot.
Yeah,
and
maybe.
I think they like Eli Ricks a lot. Just the athleticism that those guys have to where they're not like forcing themselves into a corner. Like you said, like, oh, let's go out there, do a player swap. We had another guy in there who could potentially challenge for that position. You're not forcing yourself into that. That's the one thing. Howie Roseman will never stay put, and he will never force himself into a corner outside of a Danny Watkins, Marcus Smith draft.
I am a little nervous that they think Bradberry will bounce back more than we think.
I hope not. I mean, but let's just say with better athleticism behind him now, let's hope that he can kind of revert. Maybe they're like, okay, can we save James Bradberry by signing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson? Like maybe that is like
maybe they see the past James Bradberry cycle of life where he goes every other year. And that's, I mean, again, I'm not
we're
saying
talking ourselves into something crazy right now.
Yeah, I know for sure. But that's what this mock draft is for sure. We'll continue it on with pick 120 coming up next right here on Locked On Eagles. All right, Eagles fans, we thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. It's Mock Draft Monday, and Gino and I are getting a little crazy. We're putting our tinfoil hats on with this one, and
we are getting nuts here.
Yeah, we're getting kind of rogue with it, and because again, like this is what Howie Roseman talks about all the time, is trying to be different and stay ahead of the curve in the NFL, because when you start following a trend, odds are you're too late. We might have taken it too far. The Saquon Barkley signing has gotten into our heads for sure, but here's what we've done. So far we moved down and took Edgerrin Cooper with the last pick in the first round, the linebacker from Texas A&M. Then Gino goes with Dallas Goedert 2.0, kind of 2018. Second round, tight end, Jatavion Sanders. Then we get back to the classical pick, Roger Rosengarten, the tackle from Washington, and then Gino went with a defensive tackle from Florida State, an athletic freak in Braden Fisk to complement Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, and Milton Williams. So we are back here on the clock. It's pick 120. So we've gone with 2 defensive players, 2 offensive players. Gino, I think they would eventually go back to corner. I don't know if he'd be available with this selection, but if Kyrie Jackson's there, I'm running to the podium.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be there, but even if, let's say, he wasn't on the board, like a Johnny Dixon, I think is
like
a really
Johnny Dixon.
good pick.
I really like Charles Smith-Wade, too. I mean, that's a playmaker from Washington State. That's
how many Pac-12 guys that weren't Oregon players that I really like. Like, I'm with you on Smith-Wade, man. Like, he has that versatility on the back end as well, and that's where I think it's heavy up top with, like, the top 3 guys. Then you got some guys in the middle, like the Kyries, the Rakestraws. And then I think day 3, like between rounds 4 and 5, it's going to be just primed with guys that have length. They might not have the biggest upside in the world, but they're athletes. Right. And if you want to stick them on the boundary, I think you can. So I think either of those guys would be a premier selection for them in this area. And it makes all the sense in the world, because look at where they drafted Keely Ringo. Look at where they drafted Rasul Douglas. They love drafting corners in this kind of pocket here between 95 and like 130.
I like Jarvis Brownlee more than these rankings do too, the corner from Louisville. But, Gino, I'm going to go with Chow Smith-Wade. Again, this is more of a slot player, but the Eagles do not have Avonte Maddox right now. They have Isaiah Rodgers coming back from a year-long suspension. They have Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, but they need more competition in the slot. And like you said at the end of segment 2, maybe they believe more in Keely Ringo and Eli Ricks than we do long-term. Maybe they're banking on a James Bradbury bounce back. Maybe they made a trade for a J.C. Horn or a Greg Newsome in this scenario. But Chow Smith-Wade, to me, is a playmaker. In the Senior Bowl at the game, he had 2 incredible interceptions. He's athletic. He's very competitive. I like that pick at 120. So we're stacking picks here on this mock.
I think with this one, it can kind of go into the idea of what is Howie Roseman saying when I'm going to zig when everybody else zags. He's saying, let those other teams fill the need. I'm truly going to draft the best player available kind of here. That's what it is. Like, you've gotten multiple blue chip guys that are going to come in that present really high upsides for you. Edgerrin Cooper, JT Sanders, Rosengarten could potentially be the future starter for you, and Braden Fisk. And then you got a Smith-Wade type of player. Is it what Howie Roseman does when it comes to following his A, B, and C plan? Absolutely not.
Maybe not in the order.
That's what we're doing.
I will say, though, outside of the Edgerrin Cooper pick, I don't think anything's been crazy that Howie's taken a tight end in the second round before. We took tackle and defensive tackle with the 53rd and 64th pick and then a corner. So, I don't think we're being like insane where this is like totally out of the blue. This draft would never happen.
No, it's like a once every 6 years since 2018 type of draft. Like, there you go again. And that's exactly what I think we could kind of expect from this one. And I mean, hats off to us so far. I think we've done a pretty good job with this one.
I agree. All right, you got pick 161.
Running back on the board. Let's go. I want to see who's there.
All right, we got Isaiah Davis from South Dakota State. We've got Garendo from Louisville. George
if
Lyon,
Isaiah Davis is there, man, sign me up. Sign me up. Yes, it is. And I know Saquon Barkley is very good, but folks, he hasn't played 17 games. I mean, he's not a guy that can play a full calendar. You're still going to have to potentially upgrade another running back spot. Boston Scott hasn't signed back yet.
Correct.
Kenny Gainwell is the other guy at that position. They're going to have to add somebody through the... Yeah, I know. I mean, take it or leave it. But Isaiah Davis, I think, fills that role that we had been talking about, Lou. And is he going to be a guy that comes in right away and is even dressing for you day one? Potentially not. But could he potentially beat out Kenny Gainwell? Absolutely. Could he give you a case to only dress 2 running backs on game days if he does beat out Kenny Gainwell? For sure. Because why would you have to dress 4 guys with Saquon and then whoever else you're going to have back there? I mean, Saquon does everything you wanted in all of those other receiver or running backs. And now you just add another rookie to the rotation, and talks are that the Eagles still have interest in a running back in the draft, even though they added Saquon. So never say never. Yeah.
And again, he fits a style that you don't really have in this backfield. Isaiah Davis is a power back, but also like Gino, I think he has, compared to Isaac Girendo from Louisville, who's more of just a, downhill runner. Davis to me has more cut ability. I think he's got better vision in the open field, more athletic. So I like that pick more. I know Girendo tested really well, he clocked in below a 4.4. So a really fast running back, but I think you made the right call there between those running backs. So we got pick 171, 172. I'm thinking here either maybe receiver or safety. A big favorite of mine is Jaquan Jackson from Tulane. That'll be a favorite of mine for sure. At safety, we've got looks like Evan Williams from Oregon still there. I'm not even on safety. Hold on. Yep, Tyke Smith too. Josh Proctor from Ohio State. I'm going to go with the guy that I've taken, I think, once on a mock draft Monday. I'm going to go with Jaquan Jackson. The Eagles, they've been busy at receiver. They brought in Devontae Parker. They brought in Paris Campbell, so potentially a bigger slot, a 4-3 slot. Let's go slot by committee. Give me a more traditional, shifty player to compete with Britton Covey and Jaquan Jackson from Tulane.
It's really the one position that is up for grabs on that offense right now. If you're talking about somebody who's really going to have a chance to contribute more than, let's say, your second running back or your second tight end, let's say. Right. A wide receiver 3 in a Kellen Moore offense. Look at what the third wide receivers had to do for Kellen Moore over the last couple of years, going back to Dallas.
Right.
You're going to need somebody to come in there that is a slot guy that could potentially battle Paris Campbell. I think Britton Covey has a good chance to potentially go and win that battle. Go and grab a guy like that. You could have made the argument for a Cornelius Johnson. I mean, Ryan Flournoy from Southeast Missouri State. I mean, there's so many athletes in that position, but Jaquan Jackson, that Tulane roster 2 years ago was very, very good. He was very, very good on that team. Count me in.
All right, Gino, you got to pick 172. We've got two more selections, 172 and then 210.
So people are probably thinking, oh, we just got Kenny Pickett. Like, no way we take a quarterback, right? Like, there's no way this team drafts another quarterback. Well, folks, you might be surprised. They might. Oh, this is such a bad quarterback group here, too, man. I think we've taken just about all of these guys. I was going to say, Gino,
does Keaton Slovis fit your fancy?
No, not after he transferred for the 12th time. All right, let's skip out on that. I want to take a dip into the safety pool real quick because we haven't gone there. It's not a high-end safety.
Let's take a look.
Let's go to safety.
Okay.
Ooh. This is so gross. I hate taking the same guys over and over again. I would hate to take Evan Williams again. I'm going to make you change it one more time.
We had Allen Robinson like 30 times in the...
Are we going to just do that again and just make Evan Williams our Allen Robinson? Is that what we really want to do? We could potentially.
I'm down for it. I'm cool with it.
All right, let's do it. Let's just for the bit. Let's do Evan Williams. Yeah, he's our bit guy now. I love it.
Let's do it for the bit. Okay. All right, sounds good. All right, and then we got the 210 overall to wrap things up. And then, Gino, I think quarterback is something to still take a look at. They normally like to have 4 arms at camp, and I think Tanner McKee had a really good preseason. And of course, as you mentioned, they traded for Kenny Pickett, but I wouldn't be surprised if they went quarterback.
They're going to get one way or another, right? Like they did it with Carson Strong, paying him $300,000 in undrafted free agency for God knows what reason. They're going to take swings at guys no matter what.
All right, so 210. Since we were in agreement with the Evan Williams pick, since that's kind of for the bit, I'll let you have this pick too.
Kind of for the bit. We don't do bits, but we're definitely doing a bit on that one. Let's go to cornerback again. I would like to see this group because I believe there's going to be tons of athletes that you could potentially pick at corner. So,
okay.
You got guys like Quentin Newsome out of Nebraska. Do you know who Quentin Newsome's brother is, Lou?
Is it Greg Newsome? I was hoping.
I believe it is Greg Newsome. I could be completely making that up, but I'm pretty sure his brother is Greg Newsome.
Let's stay in the bloodline, man. Maybe they trade for him and they get his brother too.
One guy I actually do really like in this spot, Carlton Johnson, the corner out of Fresno. Yeah, I think he is legitimately a decent pick for them. Instant special teams ability. You add another corner. They haven't gone multiple cornerbacks since 2003, 2017 with Sidney Jones and Rasul Douglas. Let's do it again. Let's just add one. Up top, you got a lot of blue chippers. On the back end, like Jim Nagy has been saying, day 3, it's going to be tough to find guys. So rely on that athleticism. Rely on those niche type of roles. But if you talk about the first 4 selections we made, Lou, in this one, pound for pound, I think that this is one of the best ones we've done this year.
I was going to say, heading into this podcast, my idea was to go totally against the grain, but if this is the class, I'd be a little bit nervous about corner, but I would hope there's a plan B in that scenario. I love the prospects we got, even if you remove position, but I think a lot of the positions make sense. You get a linebacker, which is your biggest immediate need and long-term. You get a legitimate tight end for that 12 personnel package. You get some really good long-term trench play with Rosengarten and Braden Fisk, a good slot competition prospect with Chow Smith-Wade, a power back, a good slot receiver. I don't think that's a bad class at all, even though it was very different than what we're used to.
You could basically guarantee Howie's going to make more picks than he currently has, I would say.
I think
the trade down option in this group, if the board falls the way that it fell today, where those big 2, big 3 wide cornerbacks go off
the tackles
the board
goes, a run on offensive tackle.
Yeah, all of Jeff Stoutland's
Yep.
loves that he has at tackle are all gone.
Friaga's gone. Yeah.
Fuaga's gone. Fautanu's gone. And then you're sitting there and you're like, do we move back and draft a linebacker in the first round for the first time since Marcus Smith? That's probably giving so many of us bad memories. But unlike Marcus Smith, Edgerrin Cooper is a really, really good prospect. And you talk about ceiling.
Yes.
That's what he is. So like you're aiming that this kid is going to be a premier talent for you. Kind of maybe what people thought Devin White could be when you think about like an athlete and can do it all from a linebacker perspective. So add him to the group. You got Devin White to kind of teach him and Kobe Dean the way. I like it, man. I really like this group.
Yeah, I thought so too. Yeah, that was a great draft. Let us know what you think at Locked On Birds, at GC24_football, and at DiBiase LOE. Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. 4 more shows for you this week, Tuesday through Friday. Until then, though, for Gino Camilleri, I'm Lou DiBiase signing off. As always, thank you so much for watching, downloading, and listening, and let's go Birds.
Fly, Eagles, fly.